Yo, first I'd like to preface this video with yes, I've seen the HXHFG. Yes, I've seen all the Twitter clips. I've rewatched them like, I don't know, 20 times because it looked cool. And yes, I'm gonna wait a month after the release of the game to see if it's actually worth buying. Now, I say all of that because I don't want this to be a yap session about Nen Impact. I want to touch on the more broader points with this whole thing. And I also want to point out a lot of the inconsistencies with what people say when they talk about quality in the game, quantity in the game, and how back in the day we used to have more games about more series, even though you don't even know how they were able to do that in the first place. Because if you did, you wouldn't be harping on this game as much as you do. But I'm not going to make the same mistake I did with Mortal Kombat and give them a huge, gigantic benefit of the doubt, because we know how that went. Now, let me get the elephant out of the room, or you could even call it like the buzzword when it comes to these type of conversations. People being spoiled by Arxis, and people thinking that stylized traditional FGs only started becoming a thing when Fighters was made. Marvel 3 exists, Skullgirls exists, and hell, you could even bring up fighting games that were sprited using pixels. Now, I don't even say that to get into the whole art style debate. I say that because people say that Arxis should have been handed this game just because of how the art style looks alone, and not even because of how the game plays. And honestly, if Arxis was handed this game because of how intricate the Nen power system is in HXH, if you want to make unique mechanics with the characters surrounding that, they'd probably have to take the Blaze Blue route and giving everybody their unique little thing. And with how the current gaming industry is with fighting games, that's not very beginner friendly if they go to Blaze Blue route. So you might be looking at cross tag again, and y'all did not like cross tag. But I guess that's like, you know, the slippery slope argument or whatever, even though that's kind of the most realistic outcome. Now, thankfully, we breezed past the boring part of this whole discussion, and now we're getting to the fun part. People like to reminisce back to the old games when we were just getting games just to get them, like the Soul Eater game, the Full Metal Alchemist game, and of course Clash of Ninja and the Bleach games. Now, something that's consistent in all of these games is they're not AAA games, they're like AA and single A. But those games are pretty lit in their own right, except for like, I don't know, the Soul Eater game is kind of bad, even though Soul Eater is like my favorite manga. But people really love Clash of Ninja. I mean, look, they even made a competitive mod for it that like adds new gameplay mechanics and improves on it in every single way possible. The comp scene for Super Gekito Ninja Taisen is very alive and well, and people still play that game to this day, and I know because I'm people. So when it comes to fighting games, the points that make it a very great fighting game and a very mediocre one are much different than when you'd say that for a different type of game, right? When I think about fighting games, my first thought doesn't really go to graphics or whatever. My first thought goes to how does the combo system work, right? What are the mechanics that make this unique from another fighting game? And of course, after all of that, I get into the animations and if this game is stylistically cool. If an FG nails all of those on his head, then his longevity is definitely going to get a Zenkai boost in comparison to his peers. Even if, like, you know, the games that have the prettiest graphics on day one have a bigger player base, the fall off is definitely going to be very different in comparison. And that's not me just yapping or whatever. I mean, we got Mortal Kombat 1, for example. The combat system is definitely changed for the worse because they went halfway with it. They don't know what they're doing. And, you know, the poster child for Mortal Kombat is a botched character, which is a telltale sign for the game's quality. And then we could compare that to Mortal Kombat X. That game is hard. It has worse graphics, it has worse animations, better voice actors. But look at the gameplay. The gameplay boosted up tenfold. Look at the character interactions, the DLC choices. It's a very memorable fighting game. MK9 had a lot of tech that sped up the game, right? But of course it was broken. By the way, it's still better than MK1. So instead, NRS just patched it out, and then they added the stamina meter that allowed you to run and do run cancels and do your little like movement options that take a bit of the meter to balance it out. That's a great gameplay mechanic that speeds up the game while keeping the core base the same. And then you have Triborg, for example. I'm gonna meet Riot Triborg for a moment. Give me a second. One, Smoke is lit, bro. That's my GOAT, okay? Sector is 5, bro. You got the little dash back with the slide and the rocket. Cyrax is, I don't play Cyrax, but he's a cool set play character. And then you have a secret 4th robot. You can play as Cyber Sub-Zero. Did you see the air slide cancel? Like, bro, they don't do cool stuff anymore. It's just, how can we put microtransactions into the game? Omni-Man is pretty cool, but the gameplay is not fun, so that takes away from it, which is why MKX is held in a higher light. So now, instead of ranting about Mortal Kombat, because I'm not trying to do that for too long, I'm gonna loop this back around to my main point that I'm trying to get across. How about we not harp on the insignificant stuff that we know for a fact doesn't matter in a fighting game, because we've seen that in the past. I don't care about the graphics of this game. Okay, the super animations are lame or whatever. I agree with that, alright? Even though Hisoka has that Gambit super, that's hella cool, bro. And in my opinion, I feel like we were due for another Tatsunoko versus Capcom-esque game. And it just so happened to be the Hunter x Hunter game, and it so happened to be on a $650,000 budget, which is pretty bad. I mean, it's a AA fighting game. I'm used to AA fighting games. You should be too, you played them. And clearly they must have some semblance of confidence as far as the game they're creating. I mean, you have pro players playing it, and I don't think it's gonna be a situation like MK1, where characters in the beta are completely different from their, released counterparts. And I don't say that the dog on MK or whatever. I say that because with the budget they're given, I unironically don't think they have room to do that. I literally don't think they can do that. We've seen a healthy amount of gameplay. I mean, we just gotta wait to see if Pizzo is in the game. That's my favorite HXH kid. Anyways. We've seen in-depth explanations about how characters work in this game. We've seen Killua's install, which is crazy. Kurapika goes into Emperor Time mode instantly when he's fighting a Phantom Troop member, and we can see how his Nen contracts work within the game. He healed himself in that one trailer or whatever. And Leorio Shiki. Everybody's happy. The only thing that I will say about this game that I view as a net negative, why does Gon Super do that amount of damage? I already know what type of game this is finna be, bro. I'm gonna have to bust out my little Marvel glasses for this one, bro. I'm gonna have to come out of retirement. Yeah, hello, Cannon from 1 a.m. here, and I forgot that I had to finish this video or whatever, but I wanted to bring up a point. That one dude on Twitter, put it best, right? People that are fans of FGs really think this game is cool, right? And then, fans of the anime kind of just dogging this game because it's not flashy. It's not the Hunter x Hunter game they wanted in their dreams, which is kind of valid if that's the only thing you were focused on, but at that point you just wanted a movie. But the gameplay looks really cool. You can tell they at least put some semblance of attention into it, and that's more than you can say for most. I'm looking at you, Cursed Clash. But at the end of the day, people have different reasons for trying out different games. I mean, you got certain YouTubers, for example, RDC World, they love fighting games or whatever, and they went against Afro Senju in Tekken 8. Afro got a Tekken coach, beat them, right? And then he called it a day. He just wanted to improve to get better to beat his friends, which I'm not saying that's the only reason Afro plays fighting games. I mean, you saw he played Ninja Storm for years, right? But RDC, they just wanted to keep getting better. They just wanted to, become better. They didn't want to get to a specific type of rank and then quit the game, And that's not to put anyone down for doing that. At the end of the day, who cares, right? RDC got a coach too, but they were just playing to improve for themselves. They weren't playing just to be Afro. And that's perfectly fine. It just goes to show that there's different reasons that different people get into these fighting games. And it just so happens that a lot of people wanted to get into Hunter x Hunter because they were riding off the wave of Dragon Ball FighterZ being, the kind of standard for this type of thing. But the thing about this specific situation is, it's a fighting game. High budget fighting games can never be the standard just because of how niche this genre is. So I just want people to, be a little less hard on this specific game. Now, if NRS creates literally anything, I want you to drive. I don't care if it's Injustice 3. I don't care if it's Marvel versus DC. I want you to drive it straight into the groove.
Up a hill with my tool, they can find you in the ditch. Yeah. Straight for high rule, you not from me, you a glitch. Yeah. Man of my rules, running with the misfits. Yeah. Do not misclick, that's gonna get you hit quick. Yeah. God don't death, this God, ain't no variation. It's Lord X Lord. I keep prepared, I saw an X out of Claude. My name Lucy, when I talk, you know. Space Channel 556, going coast to coast, trying to run off on this lid. No Leo Cole, palm tree, painted how the pole dance when it blow. Crawling for their rupees, yeah, they look like ants on the floor. Shawty at my waistband, told her get a face cam. Sidekicks, all on my side, now using day hands. My rib on a 5, look like you faking. Cause I'm traveling to the depths of